Alright, I am back from seeing The Marsh King's Daughter. I don't have a lot to say about it. So, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm gonna be speedrunning this review like the movie, like the director speedran the fucking movie. Holy shit. So this was an interesting one for me. I had actually seen this trailer, like the trailer for this movie, like a couple months back, whenever it was gonna have its original release date of like October 3rd. And I mean, it looked like an interesting, fine enough mystery thriller, whatever it was going for. But there was just something about this movie that just felt like it was gonna go for that like novel adaptation, which I didn't even know this, but it actually is an adaptation of a book. I don't know, maybe it just like wore that on its sleeve. It had the whole like woodsy mystery thriller setting with the female protagonist. Kind of reminded me of something of like Where the Crawdads Sing or some shit. I was a bit skeptical, but I was still like interested enough to see this movie once like it finally came out. But going a little more into the skepticism, that is all I heard about this movie. There was no buzz, there was no promotion, there was no early screeners. I didn't even see the trailer anymore after I saw it a couple months ago. So it just wasn't looking very good for this movie. So I'm just gonna get into the plot, whatever I want to say about it. I'm not even gonna look it up because it's a little bit doofy. I even like looked up the premise before seeing the movie because I always like to be prepared, and I was like, I'm not gonna read this shit. So basically the plot is that this girl's father is known as like the Marsh King, and she has a traumatic background. He kept like her and her mother captive and everything, and jumps forward like whatever when the girl's an adult, the guy goes to prison for all that stuff that like happened back then. He escapes from prison, and now she's thinking that he's gonna come after like her and her family. It's pretty cliche, pretty lukewarm, pretty whatever. It's exactly what I thought this film was gonna be. It's your cliche novel adaptation that just, I don't know, lands for like 60-year-olds. So let's just get into this review. So like I was saying earlier, how I was just gonna be speedrunning this review, well, this movie felt like it was speedrunning right off the bat. It felt very rushed. The first, not even scene, but the first bit that we see at all of this movie whatsoever is the title card. No other credits, nothing. Just the movie gets through its like little production companies, you know, that we see at the beginning of movies, and then we get the title card, and then we're just not even like, we're seeing layouts of the wilderness, like kind of like the vibe that this movie is going to be showing off. But it's going so fucking fast that it doesn't really let it sink in. It doesn't like really let you settle in and try and, you know, like ease you into it. It's just like, here's this grass, here's this mountain, here's this lake. And then it does that thing where it's like the first image that we see, or like the first character introduction, it takes place at the very end of the movie where we see that something has led up to this, and we get that like little narrative one-liner. But like not even after this was over, but while this one-liner was going on, this narrative piece, I just didn't care. I completely forgot. I don't even know if I was, like, I might have been, like, dissociating during this just because I did not give a shit about this movie the second it started. The second this movie began, I wanted it to be over. Just nothing up to this point seemed like it was confident, seemed like it was passionate, really seemed like it wanted to land the best for its audience. And after this, we get that sequence where it's like the flashback sequence, and, you know, obviously, like, it's supposed to serve as like an introduction, kind of keep us up to pace and kind of show us, okay, well, this is what the film's plot's gonna be reflecting off of. But goddamn, the tone here is so janky. I mean, the flashback sequence here, I'm not gonna say it's okay enough, but it's cliche and it's lukewarm. It's the best that you can expect out of a movie that you did not expect to deliver whatsoever. But the direction surrounding this movie is just, it's so bland. It's so tonally off and uncomfortably paced. And it's a bit too bad because what I will say is that I'm not completely shitting on this intro. I was surprised at how long they actually flesh out the background to the point where I was like, holy shit, is this just a flashback sequence? Like, I know it's supposed to be a flashback sequence, but isn't Daisy Ridley supposed to be like the main character in this movie? If it had been better with everything as far as like direction and tone and pacing. I could have actually seen this like intro sequence being standout and just actually impressive and a little bit more different and dedicated than like what we're typically shown in movies with this kind of a setup. And that was another thing, is just like, I was like, how long is this opening sequence gonna be, this flashback? I mean, sure, it's risky and it would have been like different and respectable had it been good, but it shouldn't take this long to like let the viewers know, okay, this is what's gonna be like taking place, this is what the plot's gonna be centering on. I will say this, I don't know if I'd say that this is like a good thing, like a positive or a negative, but the mom in this sequence, it kind of threw me off, where I was like, wait a minute, is that Daisy Ridley? Because all I'm gonna say, here's what I'll say, I will give credit where credit's due. The mom looks so much like the grown-up daughter in this film, Daisy Ridley's character, that I was like, okay, sure, it's kind of throwing me off, but like, as a mother playing, like as someone playing the mother of Daisy Ridley's character, goddamn, they got that shit accurate. They got that spot on. And another thing that caught me off guard was like, actually the little girl in this flashback sequence, like her relationship with the father, because it's so much different, it's almost opposite than what the plot kind of states, that the girl's relationship, Daisy Ridley's version of the character, how like her relationship with her father is going to be at this point, because that whole shift again is just completely opposite than what we were shown in the background. Just everything between this character as a little girl to where she's at now as an adult, that whole gray area, we don't know anything about it. So I was really curious about how that whole shift would like come into play. And now I will say, Daisy Ridley in this movie, she was fine in the movie. We all knew that she was obviously going to be like the standout, was more than likely going to be the best part of the movie, but just her performance and her character, but also what she does for this character, it definitely helped drown out and just numb a movie with otherwise full of cliches and annoyances and bores. And it actually also goes as far as to say that the next best thing behind Daisy Ridley's performance is, thankfully, the mystery setting of the movie. That was obviously the thing that was kind of bringing me into this movie, that was getting me a little bit interested in it, and surprisingly, that is the next better thing that's done besides, like, behind Daisy Ridley. Which is, to be fair, because of Daisy Ridley. She is in, I want to say, more or less like every scene in the movie, and she is the main center, wow, that sounded funky, and she is the main center of the movie. But the main shift that I was talking about earlier, like how she feels about her father now and the whole like background and everything and how she was before, it's just basically that childhood trauma thing where she's older now and there's been so much damage up to this point in her life where she's been able to develop and grow and kind of put pieces together as she's aged, like any childhood trauma would go. Again, understandably cliche mystery thriller, but kind of lukewarm. But again, when the film is trying to be a mystery film, again, you know, that being Daisy Ridley saying, okay, well, I'll work with what I can. I'll do the best that you're giving me to work with. And being in every scene and adding enough background and arc to her character, I think the film was okay. Just, again, in an otherwise annoying, boring, and cliche film. Overall, I'll give this film a mixed review. I don't think it was bad. Obviously, like I was saying, Daisy Ridley is like the best thing of this movie, and she is in throughout the film, and the next best thing being the mystery setting, it does fine. But again, just everything else in this film, the direction, the tone, the pacing, there's so many cliches, it's boring otherwise, it's annoying. Other than that, that is the film. So I'm not going to say that this was a necessarily bad film. It's just that. Otherwise, you know, aside from the good things, which thankfully the good things were the most important things. So guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Let me know what you guys thought about the movie if you guys did see it. But other than that, I'm going to wrap it up here and I'll see you in the next one. Take care guys and be safe.